Have you ever caught yourself talking when nobody else was around? Where did I put my keys? Okay, calm down. Or maybe you've replayed an argument out loud, even though the other person isn't there. Then you suddenly stop and think, wait, is talking to myself actually normal? Here's the strange part. What looks like a conversation with yourself may actually be your brain trying to organize itself. Think about what happens inside your mind when you're trying to solve a problem. You have several thoughts competing for attention. One says, do this. Another says, no, try that. Another is already worrying about what happens tomorrow. It's mental noise. So sometimes your brain turns that noise into language. Instead of silently thinking, I need to finish this before dinner, you suddenly say, okay, first I'll finish this, then I'll make dinner. You didn't suddenly become irrational. You simply turned an invisible thought into something you can hear, and that can make complicated thoughts easier to organize. That's why you might hear yourself saying, okay, where do I start? Try this. No, that won't work. Let's do it again. You're basically giving yourself instructions. But problem solving is only one reason people talk to themselves. Sometimes the conversation isn't about a problem. It's about something that happened. Imagine you had an argument with someone. You wanted to say something, but you didn't. Maybe you stayed quiet. Maybe the conversation ended too quickly. But later that night, you're alone. And suddenly, I should have said this. No, that's not what I meant. If they say that again, I'll tell them. And now you're having an entire conversation with someone who isn't even there. Why? Because your brain doesn't always like unfinished situations. When something feels unresolved, your mind may keep returning to it. You replay the conversation. You change your answer. You imagine their response. You create a different ending. And here's the interesting part. Sometimes you're not really talking to that person. You're talking to the version of yourself that wishes it had responded differently. You're rehearsing, processing, trying to regain control over something that already happened. But there's another form of self-talk that is even more interesting. Sometimes people talk to themselves because they're trying to change how they feel. Think about someone saying, come on, you can do this. Don't panic. Just take the next step. It sounds simple, but psychologically, something important is happening. You're becoming both the person experiencing the emotion and the person giving yourself advice, almost like becoming your own coach. And the words you choose can make a difference. Compare these two sentences. I can't handle this. And this is difficult, but I can handle the next step. Same situation, different message. Self-talk doesn't magically solve the problem, but it can change where your attention goes. Instead of focusing entirely on the threat, you start focusing on what you can actually do. Now, imagine two people sitting alone. The first says, I'm such an idiot. The second says, I made a mistake. What can I do differently next time? Both are talking to themselves, but these aren't the same kind of self-talk. One attacks the person. The other guides the person. And that's the part most people miss. Talking to yourself isn't automatically the problem. The more important question is, what are you saying to yourself? If your self-talk helps you organize your thoughts, solve problems, rehearse conversations, motivate yourself, or process emotions, it can simply be a normal part of thinking. But if it becomes extremely distressing, feels completely outside your control, or involves experiences that don't feel like your own thoughts or voice, that's different, and it may be worth talking to a mental health professional. So the next time you catch yourself talking alone, don't immediately assume something is wrong. you might simply be doing something your brain has been doing for a very long time. Thinking out loud. And maybe the weirdest part isn't that we talk to ourselves. It's that we spend most of our lives having conversations with ourselves, without even noticing. So here's the question. When you talk to yourself, what do you usually talk about? Solving a problem, replaying a conversation, or motivating yourself? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, check out the other videos on PsyMatters.